We're on TV. Thank you.
You're welcome. Casey's accessible. Oh, so's the chief. I mean, we ran, I'd say, a very successful vaccine clinic over it ended up being over a total of 6 days. So we had a little left over right at the end of the vaccine, right at the end of the clinic, the last scheduled clinic. So we had to use that, and no, it was a very successful clinic where I think we gave out 1,178 vaccines total, and we didn't waste a drop. It went a lot smoother. What we realized, these running a clinic of this size it's new to both, really to everybody that was involved. And what we quickly realized was that there were pinch points through the clinic that we needed to address. That being bringing people in, having a well-distanced area for people to recuperate or to sit after they got their shot, and then I guess to recover, and then I check out for scheduling. So what we ended up doing was we flipped the clinic, had the traffic go to the right into what would be the dining area of the senior center, and then we had them recover in the great room, and that just really aided the flow. And then we learned just as you're using the state's computer software, we realized that there were better ways to manipulate the system so that we could better push residents through the sign-in line. So what we ended up doing was each day we printed out a copy of their registration. We figured out how to do that better as the clinic went on, and then we were able to, again, just basically push people through the system so that they weren't having to wait outside or experience any delays. So on whole, I think, and from what I've heard from people who have been to other clinics, we were extremely successful at keeping people moving and keeping people happy and comfortable. We were given the Pfizer vaccine, which it's a bit more of a challenge in that you've got to keep it or store it ultra cold, and then you've got to thaw it. Then you have to do what they call reconstitute it. So you have to add a saline solution to the vial once it's thawed, mix it, and then that's what you inject. So there are a few more steps involved, a few more than the Moderna vaccine would have required. But Casey and her crew, they're extremely competent and knew exactly what they needed to do. They had one of the interns put together a vaccine calculator, and I mean, each day they were coming down to, last person in, and they had exactly one dose left. So I know one of the issues that's come up, in some of the, around some of the clinics that have opened is, vaccine waste. And, we're proud to say that we didn't lose or waste a drop.
Be like ultra.
It comes in it's shipped to us in a special container, and we're able to fill that container as needed. And it's got a data logger that talks, communicates with Casey and I, and we had it in a secure location in one of the municipal buildings, and we established a contract with a dry ice supplier, and we checked and monitored the system each day. You're allowed. They provide a fairly sizable amount of instruction, so you can really not mess the system up. So it really just involved us knowing exactly what vaccine we were going to pull out each day, and then replenishing the dry ice pellets as needed. And we had one minor excursion where we actually got too cold, and then it was really a matter of pulling out 2 pellets and dropping the temperature back down to the normal operating level.
I see. So, you said you pushed out how many vaccines did you push out over your course of 6?
1,178. So it was a big clinic. I mean, for a small town.
I know. And were you taking in residents from, I believe you said there were 5 towns that have all kind of banded together. Were you accepting residents from the other 5 towns too, or was this a Hopkinton centric event?
So it was designed to accommodate 5 towns that participated in the first responders, the original first responders clinic that was held in Westboro. But there were, hold on. Okay. Oh, so Casey's holding up signs. So we ended up vaccinating 50% of our population of 75 plus. And then we ended up when you did the final breakdown, we vaccinated more Hopkinton residents. I forget what the exact percentage was, but then we got Ashland, Southborough, Northborough, Westborough, Holliston, and and Sherburne taken care of. And then about 17% of the vaccine went out to residents outside of this region. We had people come in from, I think there was one from Pittsfield. We had a bunch of people come in from the Cape. We had people come in from Boston. So, one of the concerns and one of the asks from the DPH is that we vaccinate, people outside of our area. And I think we were quite successful in getting a good representation of the Commonwealth taken care of at this clinic.
All right. Now, your last clinic was last week, and our intrepid video producer, Mike Terosian, showed up there, and he put together a 5-minute package, which I must say, I'm a little bit disappointed, Sean, that I didn't see you get interviewed as part of that, but okay.
I said I was too busy.
Okay, I can understand that. So let's take a look at this 5-minute video and see if we have any more to talk about that. Here we go.
So we've been very fortunate the last couple days. We've had the health department put together having a COVID clinic for those 75 and older. And so what you have here is the last day of the clinic. And we're really excited to have had it here. We will have their follow-up clinic. At this point, we don't know of any future clinics here in Hopkinton, but right now, at least we've been able to get part of the population, and we're really excited about that.
First, you're greeted at the door by the chief, and then we sanitize your hands, and we'll give you a new mask. And then we'll have you check in where we hand you a consent, we take a picture of your insurance card, and then move you over to the vaccination zone. We have 6 different vaccinators that will vaccinate you, go through all of your medical history to make sure that the vaccine is not contraindicated, and then you will go to the recovery zone either for 15 minutes if you don't have a history of allergies, 30 minutes if you do, and then after that we have you check out and we'll schedule your next appointment. It's really easy. So if you missed today's clinic and you were unable to make your vaccine appointment, you can still visit the mass.gov website, use the map to find a location that will work for you. There's also the State 211 that is able to assist senior citizens with booking their appointments. The Senior Center here also has helped us with booking any appointments for our clinics that are local.
I'm here today because I had to come out and see this happening. This is getting people vaccinated in Massachusetts and in fact across the country is really the first order of business for anyone in government right now. We talk about it all the time, and just being able to be out here to actually see it in action is not only really important from a public policy perspective to make sure that the processes we have in place are working, but it's also just such an incredibly hopeful experience. I mean, just seeing so many of our residents being able to come in and get vaccinated, which is so important to public health and to people's mental health, honestly. It's just a really important thing. And I just want to say thanks to, of course, all the people putting this together, the Hopkinton Public Health Department, the town of Hopkinton, all public safety, police and fire who are out here today volunteering and putting their time in to actually put shots in arms. This is really what it's going to take to get us get our economy back up and running, get people out into the community again, what we're all looking forward to. And this is really where the rubber meets the road. And just incredibly impressive to see the level of effort, the level of organization and expertise that's going on here. So leave it to Hopkinton to get the job done.
So other than being the location, we have been helping people sign up, and we can continue to help people sign up. So if you do want to get a vaccine someplace else, at one of the mass sites, you can give us a call. We're going to be very happy to help you sign up. We did a lot of signing up. We've done a lot of talking to people and helping them through it. And I will say, because you may have to go to the Massachusetts mass sites like Gillette or I guess there's one in Natick, they are run very smoothly, and they are people. I'm hearing wonderful stories about people who've gone there. They've had great. It's been a very smooth process, and they're in and out. So it's not this big, scary. I'm going to be in line with millions of other people. It's not like going to Disneyland. I'm told it's a much more calm, very focused process, but that it's easy to go through.
Good afternoon, Mike. The fire department's here today assisting the Board of Health with the delivery of their vaccination clinic. I'm very happy to have 5 paramedics that are doing the vaccines and others that are assisting with the paperwork, checking in and checking out of people, and the day's going real good. I can tell that the local people in the area are enjoying coming to a facility that they know and seeing faces that they know when they're getting vaccinated, and it makes a difference seeing that, and that makes us feel good.
What is the police department's role in today's clinic? we'll help in any way that we can, but I'm just visiting today. It's really Officer Powers and McGaffigan that are doing everything today. Wherever they're needed, they'll fill the void.
So word to the district and to all the folks out there, waiting and wondering when they're going to be able to get vaccinated. I would first of all ask for your patience. This is a monumental effort. As you can see, so many important structures that need to be set up to get this done. There is some good news. Thursday, February 18th, age 65 and older residents will be able to get vaccinated. I know that's something it's really important to them. We know that so many other folks need to get vaccinated, and we're moving the process as fast as we can, and we want to make sure to get those doses of vaccine out to the population in a really efficient and quick fashion. So stay tuned, more good news to come, and be safe out there.
Okay, so our thanks to Mike, who went and put that together. Sean, that looked like a really great humming operation there.
I mean, we did a good job. I mean, everybody knew their place. I mean, Casey and the fire department really worked to build upon what we had done during the fall for the flu clinic, and just made sure that we were meeting. We're based out of the fire department right now, so we were meeting almost on a daily basis with the team at the fire department, and we were having discussions with other departments that were using the Pfizer product, and just discussing with other health departments about what they were experiencing, with respect to flow, getting people in and out. So we prepared, and that's like Norman always said, or Norman told me when I was hired, residents of Hopkinton have high expectations, and our job is to meet their expectations. So we did our homework and we executed well. I mean, I can't credit Casey and the EMTs enough with the level of effort and their attention to detail, because it did run smoothly. And if you had showed up the next day when the state system was down, we were still able to operate smoothly. It just meant we had a lot more paperwork on the back end. So like I said, there's a lot of credit to the team that was involved, and everybody that was there, had their own role. Some of the roles were just, waving to people to cue them to, come into the clinic area, but it just helped keep everything moving, helped keep everybody distanced, and really just helped us, put together and execute on a safe clinic.
All right, so I have a few questions, but you know what? I got to jump right to this one, because I know that the very next day, when the state system just had so many problems, and you just made a comment that even though that site was having so many problems, that you guys were still humming along. And my question is, how do you interface with that state website? Do you at all?
I joke that my dad always told me to operate on the 7 Ps, prior proper planning, and I'll leave the rest out. So when we set up that last clinic, I sat there and I was looking at the TV, and it was like 9 o'clock. I looked at the TV, I looked back at the dining room and said, I'm just going to print everything off tonight. So I just stayed up and I printed all of the paperwork, or really all of the registration information. So we had that, put together, stapled and ready. And then when the system was down, we didn't have to rely on the system. We just knew that we could use the registration documents that had been printed. They would take those through, and then on the back end, it just involved us basically simulating the check-in, the checkout, and then closing the clinic up. But it's all planning it, just trying to figure out what was going on, what could go wrong, and then the fact that they had opened that clinic up or they had opened clinics up to 65 and older and people with two or more conditions. Not that we knew that it was going to cause the system to crash, but I mean, there were a lot more people that were going to be interfacing with the system. So, we just, plan. You should take precautions, and it turned out that we responded appropriately.
Right. Now, were you saying, was Casey mentioning that you have vaccinated 50% of the current Hopkinton eligible population? Is that 75 plus that 50%?
Above, yeah. So 75 and above have been vaccinated, and then the Casey, the EMTs, and representatives from the fire department went out and performed home vaccinations to those that are homebound. So we got a portion of those done. So, what all of us, not just in Hopkinton, but the group of us, we all decided that, our goal was to make sure that we were addressing the needs of the most vulnerable in the community. And I think we did a really good job at executing on that. And now really it's just, we'll see what and when vaccine is again made available to the local boards of health.
Right. I think that's the big question now. When you vaccinate someone and they're supposed to have their second dose a month from now, does the fact that they're vaccinated mean anything as far as being scheduled for the second dose?
The state has told us that they are committed to providing us that enough vaccine to provide that second dose. So, we are placing that order. It'll either go out today or first thing tomorrow morning. And actually, it's already gone out. Yeah. We actually already sent it out this morning. And we'll know on Friday. We'll have verification on Friday that it's being shipped, and then we'll wait to receive it. Typically, it comes at the beginning of the week, and we're provided a tracking number to track the product so that we can be there to take hold of it, and then secure it, and then do a quick assessment as to whether or not it needs any more dry ice added to it.
Okay. Now, in addition to the order for the second doses for all those who have been vaccinated, what else do you have any other, like, have you put in an order for anything else, and what's happening there?
We put in an order last Tuesday that wasn't filled. We've requested additional vaccine to cover. There's a separate program to address residents in the senior housing communities. We've submitted a request to fulfill that allotment, and we'll know on Friday. But it's as the governor has said, and as it's been put out in the media, the priority right now is to focus on the mass vaccination sites and making sure that they're getting the second doses out to the communities that have already completed that or had a clinic to provide that first dose. And then, what we're hearing is that as vaccine becomes more readily available, we should expect to get access to that. But at this point, we have no idea when that is going to be. It might not be until late spring, early summer.
So, gosh, I was just thinking when you were talking about that kind of raised another question for me. I have been hearing that the state is going to be focusing on these mass vaccination sites. Are there any other small sites, for example, like Hopkinton and the 5 towns that you have banded together with? do you like what is the word that, I don't know, is there any word that don't bother, or there may be something, or just no word at all that you can plan on?
Well, I mean, we have a meeting actually right after this to discuss opening up a larger site that would meet the state's threshold of 750 a day. But the reality is they don't have the supply to meet that demand right now. There's, you know, and I think that it all boils down to that. The state had been receiving roughly 180,000 a week, and then that got dropped to 100, I think 103 to 110,000, and then this week I think they saw 135 delivered. But they need to make sure that they're able to meet the minimum requirements, or they have to meet the second dose requirements, and then they're also looking to make sure that they're properly standing up the mass clinics. And they just opened 2 more. They opened Natick, Worcester State, and there's one opening I think later this week down in Dartmouth.
So Sean, this is Bob Hamilton. I wanted to ask you the question about, you mentioned earlier that 50% of the phase 1 potential recipients of the vaccinations have been vaccinated in Hopkinton. And the state has committed that they will provide you the second vaccine for that group. Is it the 50%? It's not the total. So what happens to the other 50% of that phase 1 group?
So they've committed to providing us another 1,170 doses. And so that's the commitment. And in that allotment of 1,170, 1,178, that includes 50% of our 75 and older population in Hopkinton. And then the other doses are going to the residents of Westboro, Southboro, Ashland, Sherburne, and
50% would have to go for the vaccination. That's assuming that 50% wants that, but that's not really true.
and it's then the rest of the vaccine that comes into the state is just going to those mass vaccination sites. And some of the larger sites, like TripAdvisor and Needham, which was being run by, I believe that was being run by Newton Wellesley, that had to close. So a lot of these mid-range sites that were, supplying, providing maybe 300 to 500 vaccinations a day, those have been effectively shut down because it's tough meeting 750 a day. It's a significant commitment from a community or a group of communities. And
So is it true for me to say that if you're in that second 50% of the phase 1 group in Hopkinton, there is no projection as to when you might get the vaccine through the senior center? You should go ahead and try and get it
Right.
through the mass centers. And I suppose that goes for 100% of the phase 2 group.
Right. And that's what the state's really pushing us to advocate, for our residents and to really get them to go to those mass sites. And we're encouraging, anybody that can get to those, they should make plans and get vaccinated there. And then what our hope is that, when we're finally allotted vaccine again, that we can come back in and take care of those that either because they're homebound or they're just not comfortable traveling, whatever it is, that we can go in and address that population.
Can you give me any insight into what's happening with the vaccine software? to apply for those, because I'll tell you that I'm in the phase 2 group, and the first 2 days was a waste of time. And since then, it seems to have been a waste of time. And even as much as this morning when I went on, it appears that there are no availability. They say there's none available. Are they doing this on a weekly basis, or are they trying to plan it out months in advance?
They try to post everything on Thursday. That's their goal, is to post all available vaccine spots on Thursday. So your best bet, if you're trying to get an appointment, is to try to book an appointment on a Thursday morning.
Okay, so, and I'm assuming that if you try it on a Thursday morning, there's a good chance you could get it at a site, if you're going to get it at all. I guess it's like a lottery, that I wouldn't have to go to Danvers to get it, or I wouldn't have to go to Fall River to get it. I might be able to get it at Gillette.
Right, and I'd look at, I would focus on, Worcester State and Natick locally.
Yeah.
Stay in your area. And then, one of the things that we got to be aware of is that it's going to take about a month to get this next group done. And that's really just a month to get the first shots done. So
Right.
It's going to take 2 months in theory to get this whole next group done, with 2 shots. That's why once Johnson & Johnson, and what I was hearing from Johnson & Johnson today is they believe they've got about 1 million vaccines ready right now, but they're not going to go into full production and have a large amount of vaccine ready until late spring, June. So it's supply is what's causing the problem.
Right, and that I'll bring this up as my last question without bothering you too much. But since I look at it as in Hopkinton, we had 50% of our phase 1 recipients for the vaccine that didn't get it. So now they're in competition with 100% of phase 2. And I'm assuming that at some point they're going to open up phase 3 before all of phase 2 has had a chance to get theirs. And the way the state seems to change or tweak the availability for phase 2, it seems that phase 2 keeps getting larger every day, as well as what's left over from phase 1. So how are they going to keep up with the vaccines if they do that?
Well, and that's the challenge is though I haven't seen the movie, I've heard a lot of people say it's like the Hunger Games, where you really need to be advocating for yourself. You need to put a plan together, commit to sitting down in front of the computer, and then it helps to know how to utilize the system. So we're trying to figure out just I don't know that there's anything I can do on our end to help put anybody at a better advantage, other than to really teach people how to use the system. And that's one of the things that's, like personally has been frustrating, is that, we train how to do this all the time. It was probably one of the first things that Casey and I did together, where we had a training, right? What was it? October. So, we got our plan together. We went to a tabletop exercise on making sure that we could execute on the plan. We held mobile clinics to verify that we could execute on the plan. The state was actually out there the day that HCAM was there, and verifying that we were following, sticking to our plan, being compliant with the state's regulatory procedures. So, like we've been able to demonstrate that we can execute on the plans that we put together. And now it's just a little frustrating that we don't. But if they don't have the supply, there isn't really anything I can do.
Right. I'm wondering, Thursday was a debacle. I remember hearing an interview with Governor Baker saying that his hair was on fire with how things went. Do you know, have they fixed those problems? Has that company got it working? Is it working well now?
It was working. I mean, I was entering in data on Friday and it was still getting jammed up. And is it still getting jammed up now? It's better. It's slow. So what we're doing on our end is now we've got to, so everything that you do right now, trying to enter in, your data, your personal information, your insurance information, we've got to do that to reschedule you. And we have to do it 1,178 times. So, we can make, we're filling in the slots on on the back end, but it's time consuming. And if you're not proficient with the computer and comfortable, if you don't have access to your glasses or contacts or a fast internet connection, you're at a disadvantage. And that gets to this whole equity thing where, we're trying to make sure that we are providing a system, when we're operating a clinic in Hopkinton, that's as equitable as possible. That's why we have the lists. That's why we make sure that those that don't have access to a home computer have access to people at the senior center or in our department who can help you fill it out. And we're trying to, do everything that we can to basically provide that extra advantage so that you can get an appointment. And again, that's what's most frustrating right now is that we just don't have that ability to really.
Right. It is frustrating. In fact, there's a comment here that just rolled in. The longer it is jammed, the less people want to try it. And I just think that, boy, did you ever try to go on Amazon and it like crashes? I think that it's a bandwidth issue, and I think it should have been foreseen that this type of capacity was not sufficient, what they provided, and they needed to provide more. So I just hope that it continues to get better. But I want to get back to one thing you said, that everybody who showed up, the over 1,100, you have to now put in all that information again for the second one. How do you do that? Do you know what dates you're guaranteed to have your second supply by?
So the residents that came on the first 2 days, we were booking them on the 5th. Residents that came after that, we were booking them on the 11th. Right? The 11th. So we've got the dates set aside. We told them, as people were coming through our clinics, we're basically filling in time slots. We basically put together a spreadsheet, and now we're just backfilling in those names. And then, so if at the end of the day, what we'll end up with is a set of 2 dates with a law, about just shy of 600 people per day. And we'll have, we have a commitment to receive another dose or another shipment of Pfizer, and we should be able to pull out the same amount of vaccine. And then we're just going to put shots in arms. It'll be a faster process because it won't be as much paperwork. They won't have to reschedule. So really, they'll check in, they'll check out, and they'll have to wait their 15 minutes after getting vaccinated.
So everybody is advocating, for certain groups and things that teachers are really advocating to be on the list. I'm just wondering, when you think about a mass vaccination site such as Gillette versus a very small vaccination site such as the Hopkinton Senior Center, it seems to me like you get a lot of throughput through Gillette. Okay, that's fine. However, I think that when you get to a smaller base such as the senior center here in town, you probably have more accuracy in getting the vaccine into the arms of, the places we're supposed to be now. I'm just wondering, are people or groups advocating for these local community ones, especially for the older citizens who may not want to travel down to, Gillette or somewhere even further?
I mean, and that's one of the reasons why, it's why Carolyn was there, is, we wanted to demonstrate that we could operate an efficient clinic. And, it's one of the reasons why when the state asked if they could come, I said, yeah, I'd love you to come. I want to demonstrate that we can do this. So we have, so the representatives from the state fire marshal's office down to our state reps and state senators, they're all working and advocating on our behalf. But at the end of the day, if there's no vaccine, if we don't have enough vaccine to meet the needs, there's just nothing I can do. And like I would argue is, we provide we provide a more personal service where, there were a number of residents who we actually put them in one of the fire trucks and drove them back to their home. They were, we knew who to have a wheelchair out there for. We knew, you just know a lot more about the residents, and you're able to really cater to their needs. And I would argue that you don't necessarily get that at the larger sites.
No, I don't think you're getting a ride back in a fire truck from Gillette Stadium. I agree with you
No,
on that.
we made someone's day. I mean, she was feeling a little just flushed, and one of the wasn't even an EMT. He was just there assisting, and helped them into one of the, I think it was one of the pickup trucks, and drove them down to their home. And but that's the, that's the, it's the service, it's the attention to detail, and that's why we had extra bodies. That's why Chief Bennett was there, just to be that extra body, just in case we need anybody. Molly and Powers were just tremendous at just keeping people flowing through. And then you saw in that clip, Molly was over sitting with an elder gentleman who'd come on his own, and it was just providing that service.
So Sean, for people in, I don't know, phase 3 or whatever, when you are 20, 30, 40, that's fine. Drive out to Gillette, drive out to Needham, drive out to to Greenfield. But this group, only 50% of the people in Hopkinton 75 and older have gotten their vaccines. And it just seems to me, and I'm not just saying this because I think you're a great guy, it seems to me that particular group of people is so much better served from a local community standpoint. So, not that I make the decisions, but you had kind of mentioned, and I just wanted to see if you could just restate that, just if I heard that correctly, that the state is saying to groups like yours, you'll get your second dose for those you've already done, but don't even bother asking for any more at this point. Is that the case?
Yeah, and starting from the top, I mean, Casey knew how to work the internal system. I advocated, Casey delivered. So you look at just the fact that we were able to get access to vaccine, that put us at an advantage above a lot of other communities that might not have a health director or a public health nurse. They might not have the certifications, their identification numbers to be able to put the orders in. So we made sure that we had all of that done. So, I mean, just think about the other communities that don't have a full-time health agent, or they don't have anybody who is able to get certified to utilize the mass vaccination system. Their seniors, their homebound seniors, they're not getting anything. I mean, they've really got to fend for themselves. So, what we did is we had like I said, we had a plan. We figured out how we could best position the community. We had an existing group that we had to put together in order to get vaccine for our first responders. And then we just realized that having the plan, having all of the pieces in place, provided us an opportunity that most communities, didn't get an opportunity to act on. And I mean, I think we were, to date, I think we're still one of only 3 communities to have been given the opportunity to use the Pfizer vaccine. And there are communities that had until last week, they were still getting a limited supply of Moderna, but that was 100 doses a week. So, by being aggressive, by, taking advantage of the opportunities that were, available to us, we were able to get 400 and, some odd residents vaccinated, almost 500 residents.
Now, interesting, you said that 50% of the population in Hopkinton, 75 and above, have been vaccinated. What percent of the population expressed an interest in getting vaccinated? Because I know that there has been discussion about that too.
We don't have an exact number, but it's generally about 80%.
Okay. Now, I had heard recently that President Biden or Pfizer or somebody, one of those, somebody out there, said that they now have a target of having enough vaccine to vaccinate every American by July. Have you heard that?
I've heard it. It's that I believe the date was pushed back about a month, but it's it's like I'm not paying too much attention to that, because I'm trying to figure out what I can do to, like I'm working day to day, week to week right now. Like, and even, with my wife, we had a chat, and she might have an ability to get access to it earlier. And I said, you really gotta advocate for yourself, and you meet certain, you meet the conditions, your employer has access, take advantage of it. And, and then you gotta ask, I don't know. It's a frustrating situation where, we know what we want to do. We know we have a plan on how to execute, and it's really the one variable that we don't have control over is what's, it's the supply. And give me the supply, I'll get shots in arms.
Yeah, exactly. Now, before we wrap up here, I have another very short video. It's just under 2 minutes. One of the crew members at HCAM went and received her vaccination. She went to Gillette, and she made a little video diary of her journey there. So I thought, since that right now, that's really what state is saying, is go to some of these places. I thought that we would just play this short little video and see what her journey was like.
Social distancing and use hand sanitizer where provided. Please wear a mask at all times. Welcome to the Gillette Stadium Vaccination Super Site. On behalf of Gillette Stadium, CIC Health, and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we thank you for playing your part in this and its home. To avoid overcrowding, please make sure you stay in your car until 15 minutes before your appointment and watch the video board for your appointment time. While standing in line, please make sure you maintain proper social distancing.
All right, so that was her journey, and the snow man, a snow person at the end made me wonder. I had heard a little bit that all these storms all across America may be delaying, disrupting what supply there is, and I'm wondering if you have any insight on what might be happening with that.
Oh, I mean, my understanding is that Mass didn't suffer any delay. The governor the governor was actually prepared to deploy the National Guard down to Kentucky, I guess, to pick up supply that was down there. So there might have been maybe a day delay, but I haven't heard anything. But then again, I didn't have anything being shipped to me, so it's this, like I said, the whole process. You go in and you put your order in every week, and then Friday around 6 o'clock, you get the email, oh, they didn't fill it, and so it's you just want that continuity. We want to be able to plan to actually give people some hope and some more hope, and just be able to set some expectations so that they know when their cohort is going to be permitted access. And that's one of the things that I guess upsets me the most, is that I'm not able to set an expectation as to when I'm going to be able to deliver vaccine to different groups, different cohorts.
I personally think that uncertainty is one of the toughest things. It's like gambling. It's like spinning the roulette wheel when you go on one of these websites and try to book an appointment. And if instead everyone could just put their name in and then let some kind of lottery system get set up so that, look, once that number hits, we'll know in a week or two before, and then let you schedule something. At least you would have the certainty, and you wouldn't have to get up every day and try to spend hours on the computer just to get that scheduled, you would know. Hey, if you got to wait a couple weeks, at least you know it's coming.
And then, the thing that we had asked back at the beginning of the pandemic is, if you're going to make a change, do it over the weekend, so that those of us who have to negotiate or deal with that change have some time to prepare. Because when they added the what do you call it, the assistant, when people that were bringing a 75 or older resident in, and they could be accommodated, or they could be I'm tired when we were then allowed to vaccinate the person who brought them in, I think that happened mid-clinic. And then there were people that were gaming this system, and we didn't even have time to put a game plan in place on how to deal with people that were trying to game the system. And so I just think that maybe removing us makes it a little easier to make some of those pivots, but I'd also argue that may have been what happened with the crash. Is I believe the website, the president of the company that developed the website, had stated that that they weren't aware that they were opening it up to that larger group, and that may have been why. I would argue that if you're going to put together a system that's open up, to the population of a state or multiple states, that you need to have tested, or you should have tested your product well beforehand. But
Yes, I agree with that. And if you didn't know, you should have been prepared for it, because it's coming at some point.
it was 7 Ps again.
All right, Sean, that is the end of our hour. Thank you so much for spending your time again. And we thank Casey in the background there for helping us out too. We really appreciate your time and keeping us informed.
All right. Thank you for having us.
And thank you for watching the Hangout Hour. We ask you to come back again on Wednesday and see another hour at 7 p.m. Take care, Hopkinton.